Hey guys, Rob Hilton here from AG Secure Property Management. Hope you're doing well. This is going to be our last video here on entry notices, and today I'm going to talk about the actual entry notice delivery itself and what to do if you're having challenges either as a tenant or a landlord. So this should wrap up the series. If you have further questions, you can always get hold of us. The information's right back here on the wall. I'm going to leave a copy of an entry notice on the end of this video as well. We're here to help people out, so don't hesitate to give us a shout. So entry notice, one of the few documents you as a landlord legally can post on a tenant's door is the entry notice. And we would actually encourage you, if you're having a situation with a problem tenant, when you do post it to the door, you take a photo of it. A lot of people like to drop the entry notice in the mailbox, something you want to be very careful about. Not everybody checks their mailbox every day, and there's a big difference between a mailbox on the door and a super box. Super boxes tend not to be checked as much, and if your property actually gets the mail delivered to a super box, but you put the entry notice in the mailbox attached to the house, that mailbox isn't where the mail is delivered to, so that mailbox does not count as service of a notice. So you want to be aware of that. You can, in some occasions, as we've talked earlier, do it by email if your tenants agreed to that. And again, as I talked about, there's consent. If mailing an entry notice, real interesting, and this applies to all the forms with the landlord-tenant board, whenever you're going to mail notice out, you actually have to add 5 days extra to that notice. So if you want to do an entry to a property on Friday, you better have mailed it out the Thursday or the Friday of the week before. Make sure your tenant gets it, gives them proper notice. Otherwise, you actually haven't served notice, which could put you in a position that you haven't given legal entry. If you call and get consent from a tenant to come in, like I said previously, you're going to want to get it in writing so that you've got something that backs that up. If you show up to do work and consent's not given, or consent is given at that time, you've got the right to enter if somebody's giving you consent. Don't force yourself in. If you do, you're going to be in trouble. For real estate showings, like I talked about, you want to make sure a win-win approach. I would encourage you strongly to have your real estate agent be the one delivering notice and actually copying you on that notice when they deliver it. And then finally, when you are inside, if you do go into a tenant's unit and you see a problem, you can take a photo of the problem, but you should never be taking photos of any of their personal effects. So now we come to the big what if. What if a landlord fails to give you notice of entry to your property? Well, first of all, as a tenant, you have the right to refuse entry if they have not given you notice. You also have the right to set up expectations. So if you have given notice or the landlord's given you notice that they're going to put the property up for sale, if you want to receive text messages and you're willing to do that for a showing coming up, that's between you and the landlord or the realtor that they're involved in. But if you want to have proper notice, you have the right to request it. And if there is a problem, you really should document it and send it off to your landlord that the problem has happened and ask them to refrain from that behavior in the future so that you've got record that you've done that. On the flip side, if you're a tenant and you have received proper notice, you do actually not have the right to refuse entry. Again, most tenants are pretty reasonable. If you have something that's going on, let's say it's a Saturday afternoon at 2 o'clock, the landlord wanted to come by and you've got your son or daughter's birthday party and you're going to have a bunch of people over, call them. Don't say, hey, you can't come at that time. I've got my kid's birthday party. But you might want to say, look, I've got my child's birthday party. They got a few friends coming over at that time. Could we do this time at 10 in the morning or the following day instead? Would something like this work? Come up with a win-win. Try to keep the lack of an adversarial relationship down. If, as a landlord, your tenant is refusing you entry and you have delivered proper notice and you got documentation that you have done proper notice, the rental housing enforcement unit is somebody that you can call when this happens. They will try and get involved and explain to the tenant your role and your responsibility and their responsibilities as well. And hopefully they'll be able to gain access to the property. My suggestion, document. If you're having problems, you want to document it, because if you do end up having to use that either as evidence in a hearing because you do have to evict the tenant because they haven't been cooperative, or just to prove that you've tried to do your maintenance. If you've got the documentation, the landlord-tenant board will hold on to that information and will typically accept what you're saying, and it helps. Just saying it doesn't really work, but if you've got documentation proving it, that's it. Again, I always believe the best way you're going to be successful in this game is to know what the rules are, be flexible, be understanding, make out for a win-win situation wherever possible. So try to think of what our next topic will be. It'll be interesting. We're going to launch it right after these videos. So hopefully you'll tune in and find out what's there. Thinking about doing the standardized lease and what you can expect that way. So tune into our Facebook or YouTube channel to find out more on this. Give us a call at 705-792-9764 for more information about our services or entry notices that we've talked about. Or you can give me an email direct at rob.hilton.ag@gmail.com. Look forward to talking to you soon. Take care, folks.